Hello, and welcome to In the DeNovo. I'm Will Grace, founder and managing director here at DeNovo Treasury, where we empower leaders of community financial institutions entering commercial and industrial banking with expertise for their strategic investment in treasury management products and services. We prioritize the how over the what. We believe in a collaborative journey and go beyond traditional services by actively transferring treasury management expertise to our clients. Thank you for joining us and staying in the know within the DeNovo. Hello, and welcome to episode 9 of In the DeNovo. I'm your host, Will Grace, founder and managing director of DeNovo Treasury. And today I'm joined by our guest, Ryan Hildebrand, executive vice president and chief innovation officer at Bankwell Bank. Ryan's primary focus is on leading the bank's innovation and technology strategy with the goal of creating innovation solutions for their clients. He has more than 20 years of experience in the banking and fintech industries and has founded multiple successful companies. Apart from his professional life, he is passionate about ranching and runs the Emerald Valley Ranch, which is a sustainable farm. Ryan holds an accounting degree from Oregon State University. How do you do what you do with an accounting degree? Just kidding. And he is also a graduate of the Y Combinator. It's an honor and a privilege to have Ryan here today. Ryan has become a trusted colleague, and I'm proud to say he was the first client of DeNovo Treasury. You could almost say that we exist because of Ryan Hildebrand. And that's when he worked for another financial institution. So I'm thrilled to have Ryan today here on our program. Ryan, welcome to In the DeNovo, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Will. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So today's episode is titled AI Innovation and Community Financial Institutions, something we're both familiar with, more so community financial institutions for me anyway. So let's talk about AI, and that term can be intimidating to some. A lot about it in the news and a lot about it today in our technology world. I don't know how it works, and I bet many of our DeNovo Treasury clients and prospects might not know exactly how it works, and some of our listeners on the program don't either. So I thought maybe we could start off with asking you, how does AI actually work?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, myself, I'm definitely not, I would say, the world's expert on AI, but I know enough to be dangerous at this point. Actually started my career as at a large regional bank now, and part of that work was in accounting. And actually, one of the big things we actually learned was using machines to help do reconciliation. So really, that's a great example of artificial intelligence, is really using computer systems to perform traditional tasks that usually are associated with humans. So that's really kind of the jumping off point of AI. Artificial intelligence is doing things that humans do in day-to-day in this case, banking, which is based on data. There's a lot of intelligence that goes into banking. And so using computer systems to kind of help do things like, make predictions, identify objects from a reconciliation standpoint, interpreting speech, generating natural language, to really think about how to process and use massive amounts of data and look for patterns in those models to come up with decision making. So humans, in many ways, interact with data, and so I think machine learning in itself has been kind of a construct of artificial intelligence at this point. After I left the bank I first worked at, we actually used machine learning to do things to recommend products. So I actually worked at a company that created patents around music and artificial intelligence around recommending music. So if everyone remembers Pandora, that was really machine learning, learning tastes of music and kind of pulling together the data sets that existed to people that listened to Pearl Jam, listened to Red Hot Chili Peppers, as an example. And so that's really artificial intelligence and kind of a use case that I think we're all familiar with. Obviously, artificial intelligence has expanded, and I think there's lots of different types of artificial intelligence. out there nowadays. I think there's just been an explosion that has come about just based on the advancements, really in processing power. I think has really been the innovation there. NVIDIA is the one that is talked about. Interesting enough, Jensen, who's the CEO and founder, actually went to Oregon State along with Stanford. Met him many times, but super nice guy. But NVIDIA and what they're doing to increase the computational capabilities of machines is really kind of what's led to the kind of explosion of AI being talked about every day, and kind of the chat GPT things that are appearing much more human-like in responses is something that is exciting.
So it's really existed for quite some time in some form or another, because you've talked about machine learning, and seems like Pandora's been around for quite some time. So it's not as if this technology hasn't been here, but it's really, as you've mentioned, kind of the proliferation of things that have made it more human-like, that have really kind of brought it to the forefront. Is that fair to
Yeah,
say?
absolutely. It's just the computing power has gotten faster
Yeah.
and better, and so it's being able to analyze large data sets a lot faster, and then being able to take those learnings by computers, the machine learning, and start to connect it, to kind of what humans do more so,
Yeah.
whether language or text.
So you've given us a few examples, but like, I guess, are there different types of AI, and what would they be? And
Yeah,
yeah, because
yeah. There's this kind of concept of different classifications and kind of categories of AI. These are again things that I'm still learning about, and they're still getting pulled
sure.
together. But, there's kind of this concept of weak AI and strong AI. Weak AI is kind of narrow artificial intelligence that's automates specific tasks. So things like reconciliations, I would say, is kind of weak AI. It's narrowly defined, problem. You've got to reconcile your accounts. AI can help that process. It can filter. It's looking at inbox for email. That's a weak AI piece. The recommendation engines that I talked about before, music recommendations, that's more weak. And chatbots, which I think in banking and credit union space, we've seen a lot of chatbots over the last, I'd say, probably decade at this point.
Okay.
And that's really narrow focused. And then what's really kind of exploded now is strong AI, which is more artificial general intelligence. So it's kind of the human level, human-like intelligence, being able to solve problems that the computer hasn't necessarily worked on. So it's training the data to be able to learn more on how to solve a problem. And it's kind of one of those things that I think everyone's probably more scared about is AI taking over the world. Is the artificial intelligence is so general and so smart that it can pose a lot of risks. And so I think we're starting to see some aspects of that of things, but I think it's at a point where things are still kind of weak as far as the ability for it to act exclusively like a human does.
Sure.
But I think underlying that, I guess, is there's kind of the way I've started to learn and kind of bucket it is there's kind of four main types of AI. There's kind of reactive machines, which example of this is really the Netflix recommendation engine. So people that watch these movies, similar to music, it's
Yeah.
able to kind of think through a specialized way to think about some data. So that's probably a good example is reactive machines. There's limited memory, which is storing data and making predictions on kind of future things, and that's really Chat GPT. If everyone's seen that and explored that, that's really kind of limited memory that's training a data set. The self-driving car example is also limited memory. So you think about Tesla, and kind of being able to train, based on a map, how to drive a car that's there. The kind of the third, a third category and type, is theory of mind. And this is one that doesn't even exist yet. But this is around human emotions. So not necessarily applicable to the banking space, really, but it could be something you think about, you know, what's a loan look like, and maybe there's some human elements to it that could be interesting. And then kind of the fourth one is really that self-awareness. Also doesn't exist yet, but it's kind of that human-like consciousness. So that's super deep, Will, I guess, of
It's
things.
super
But
deep. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So hopefully that's helpful. But it's something I'm learning about. I think that there's just a lot of noise out there around this, and there's a lot to discover, and it's super exciting, especially when you start to apply it to financial services.
Right. I guess those last two are probably the ones that get people a little scared when we talk about, human emotion and self-awareness. But
Yeah,
that would be very interesting, because those are two things that people make buying decisions on. And I
yeah,
guess if you're gonna, put that into financial services, that could be an advantage at some point if you're able to harness that. So it's an interesting that that's going to be coming at some point.
yeah, yep,
Kind of cool if you can use it in the right way.
yep.
So you talked about machine learning. And I think you've kind of gotten into kind of the role of AI in machine learning, and maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit more. I guess you
Yeah.
kind of talked about how I guess some of these all these areas you've talked about kind of machine learning has a part in it, right? And
Yep.
uh, yeah, so what's the role of AI in that?
Yeah, I mean, I
In
think,
machine
I think,
learning
I
side?
think, I think really there's the benefits of AI, machine learning, and all of this is again the automating of those repetitive tasks. I think are
Yeah,
a huge benefit, and that's some of the stuff that we've seen in the past, and we're even seeing even more so. I think that's a really big one. So data entry, customer service conversations, just doing things that are repetitive, that are learned behavior, I guess, that a machine can learn and pick up on, is something that's kind of that first order, I guess, of benefits. I'd say, it's probably the second piece is really thinking about, this is kind of where things are starting to move more so, is around solving more complex problems. So thinking about things that, predictions, forecasting, things that, traditionally, say in financial services, are generally done through Excel and models and things like that start to be a little bit more complex. I think AI can really get into that. I think thirdly, improving customer experience is something that AI is got a huge opportunity to do from a benefit standpoint. We'll get into that and kind of some of the things that we've been working on. But it's really, personalizing to the customer. Chatbots has been there's been a phase one of chatbots. There's been that phase for a while now. I mean, you look back at Microsoft and what is it, Clippy, if you remember that whole thing, that was
oh yeah,
yeah, yeah. Um, so customer experience using AI and machine learning is really, it's really exciting to see the opportunity here to kind of rely less on call centers and things that have gotten a bad rap in the past from that standpoint. And then I think I'd say another benefit I would say is potential to reduce human error. So being able to catch mistakes
yeah,
and in data, right? Ensuring accuracy, which is been done in the past with technology, but I think being able to use AI to really sift through a lot of data quickly and finding things that wouldn't normally necessarily be found, I think is going to be really, really exciting.
yeah, and yeah, I know that there's probably a section of population that might feel that there's a risk to you know to some jobs. However, if you think about the client, you mentioned client experience, and if you can take some of that repetitive behavior and some of those things and enrich the start of the client behavior, I mean, that's there, you can't put a value on that, and take out some of the errors in the beginning of the process that and automate something that removes friction, right? From
Yeah.
a process that can just really enhance that right at the beginning. That has a lot of value to any area of a customer service experience, whether it's a financial institution or some type of other service type industry. It seems like you're always going to have some level of human contact at some point. So that's not those jobs are going to go away. I think that the level of support is going to have to, you know, they're going to have probably continuing education, right? Because the level of support where they take over is probably going to be much higher, I would think.
Yep.
Because some of those menial tasks where they are prone to human error, right? And where where you can take out some of the guesswork, then why not? And get to more complex problems than for maybe humans to solve. But maybe we can get past that with some of this technology. So that kind of gets to some of the challenges and maybe ethical implications maybe of AI. If you want to call maybe taking maybe some jobs away or whatever. What do you think the challenges and ethical implications are of AI?
Yeah, I mean, I think I mean, you spoke to it. I mean, I think the very first thing is really job displacement for sure. When you're automating processes and you're generating, on the knowledge work side, content, and you can work for long hours. I think there's lots of opportunity for job displacement for kind of the tasks there. Obviously things change, and I think there's I think Sam Altman, who's the one of the founders of OpenAI, sees a greater opportunity for people to work less. So is job displacement something we should be concerned about? Probably, but I think it kind of leads to other things as we advance as a society, I guess. I think there's huge potential for bias and discrimination based on previous models that are created. We've had lots and lots of issues, obviously, in the past in financial services, as an example, from a discriminatory standpoint. And if models learn data behavior based on that, it's continuing to be potential for bias and discrimination on things. That's definitely a risk. I think the things that come in the news, I think around hallucinations is super interesting. But hallucination is AI producing inaccurate results, I guess, because data that it was trained upon was insufficient, biased. So there could be there's an example of a chatbot that is using AI that effectively gave away a car for $100 or something like that out there. There's different examples where hallucinations happen. I think people have heard maybe the case where an attorney used AI and ChatGPT to try to respond to legal case. Ended up producing a fake case law. The person ended up getting fired. But things like that, I think, are going to continue to happen, unfortunately. But that's why it's important to have really a human in the loop that kind of understands the output, not necessarily relying on it completely. I think another concern is privacy. I think there's lots of data collection that's going on, and I think there's opportunity for that. I mean, we've been living in the world of Google and Facebook and everything for the last decade plus, 15 years. Having more access to data, there's obviously huge privacy concerns, and data breaches become an issue, even more so of knowing a lot more about us as individuals. I think that's some of them. I think ethical. I think transparency, inclusivity again is really a big thing that's potentially harmful, both on the user side but also on the business side. Um, and then finally, I guess the other thing to note is um, because the technology is really powered by consumption of energy effectively. I think that's something that we're going to have to think about as more and more desire for data requires, faster chips, which requires,
Sure.
more energy. So there's always the consumption of energy that's going to be an ethical issue for us to continue to tackle.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't think about the bias piece that you mentioned. I wonder if though you could teach it to manage out the bias though too, right? And
So totally, I'm working
take out the human element piece of bias, right? If
totally.
you hope, right?
Yeah. I'm looking at
Um,
there's a couple of companies that are out there that are trying to figure out how to do lending models that are more fair.
yeah,
They're
right.
using AI to crack that.
Yeah, that'd be great. So Bankwell recently launched a small business lending solution, and actually what prompted me to contact you was a great article about that. Congratulations.
Thank
Would you
you.
mind telling us about that?
Yeah, so we partner with a company called Cascading.ai. They have a product called Casca. We've really been a development partner to them. They're a company that's call it kind of a spin out of Stanford. The CEO is a Stanford MBA, partnered up with a CTO and co-founder of his that was really in the AI engineering research department at Stanford, and so they've teamed up to really think about how to look at banking and financial institutions to figure out a way to use AI and generative AI, kind of the AI chatbot stuff that's a little bit more advanced, to be able to serve banking. And so the first kind of use case that we developed with them is really thinking about the opportunity on the small business lending side. Small business is generally the kind of the overlooked but obvious customer base that a lot of community institutions want to serve, have served in the past, haven't necessarily done a tremendously great job at serving that customer base. A lot of it has been, based on the fact that they're hard to serve, they're hard to acquire, they're hard to, get loan applications in because the requirements to collect data. And so there's a big opportunity to be able to serve kind of this underserved group with loan products. And so we've worked with them, really for the last 4 or 5 months at this point, to develop a tool to better pre-qualify a small business customer, and be able to use AI to get that. What we were finding as we launched our small business program, we launched it with a lender, and they were having trouble reaching the borrowers to get more information out of them about the potential. And so what we were finding is that the small business owner is super busy during the day, may potentially have customers, employees in front of them. They can't exactly talk about their financing needs. And so we were finding that it was just hard to get hold of them. And so with Sarah, our chatbot lending business development associate, we've been able to really be able to reach this customer group easier, faster, and having much better conversations with them about kind of how to solve their needs and getting them to apply.
Huh. Very cool. Have you had early learnings that you're able to share with that service?
Yeah, most customers are most available at 10 o'clock at night on a Friday night, which is precisely exactly not the time that a business
Sure.
development person is available. So I think that was the first learning. I think being able to follow up with this customer with more of a human like conversational pace, I think has been tremendously valuable. I think we're getting, 4 or 5 times, application rate at this point with Sarah. We're finding out a lot more information about the business. We're getting full applications pulled through, initial touch points after marketing is done. we get partial applications, and I think there's a lot of learnings and data that we're able to kind of pull through, I guess, that's missing, I guess, at this point. And Sarah's been able to get the applicant to finalize an application, collect bank statements, collect tax returns, collect more data with this tool, which has been just hugely successful in our pilot phase.
And yeah, this is aimed at small business owners, right? So, and yes, that's when we are available. Speaking as a small business owner,
exactly, right.
That's available in the evenings and on weekends. So, good to know that there's a solution like that out there. So, I don't know if you had negative perception of AI at Bankwell, or how you were able to maybe get around any tough conversations, but maybe you could talk about how the financial institution became comfortable with talking about innovations in AI and how you came about rolling out the solution.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that we've wanting to approach a lot of these new innovative tools is really to run pilots. I think that that's been really beneficial, is being able to kind of test, learn before kind of advancing and making more decisions on what we're doing. So I think that was the best way to start this, was the conversation of let's see it in action, let's work through it. I think second to it is the fact that really the human is always in the loop in this. We're not doing it at a volume that we can't review all the things that are going on. I think having the ability to see what Sarah's messages are at any time is really important. Being able to audit that and see, the problems that we have so far is just pre-qualification. We're not getting real in depth yet, and kind of to the full process. So it's really dipping our toe in the water at this point. That's been successful. Internally, of course, risk, credit, everyone has been involved, kind of thinking through this. But I think the buy-in has been it's something that's innovative, and it's kind of where we're going at this point. If we don't do stuff like this, other banks or non-bank lenders are gonna advance on this, and we're gonna be left behind. So kind of have to at this point. Brought attention to our regulators, kind of our piloting of this, and I think everyone's open at this point to have the conversation and kind of learn more and see kind of where things are going at this point. But again, having a human in the loop, it's really what they call a co-pilot. We're co-piloting AI, and it's really our assistant, not necessarily we're not giving decisioning capabilities to Sarah at this point.
Sure. So as far as AI and community banking, do you have any sense for what might be on the horizon? Not asking you to give up anything on what's on Bankwell's strategic roadmap, but maybe just in general, what you might see or what we might see in community banking and AI.
I mean, I think it touches every single area and aspect of community banking at this point. It started in customer service, it's moved into the back office with reconciliation, and it's thinking about I'm looking at financial forecasting tools that are AI developed. I'm looking at risk, particularly on kind of the BSA AML side. That's a huge opportunity there. I think operationally, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Obviously, we're looking at it from a sales and business development and marketing standpoint, so that's there as well. It's every aspect of the institution in my mind at this point, and we're seeing it from all of our vendors. I mean, even our core provider, which is generally sometimes a little bit more classic when it comes to fintech, is offering AI capabilities. So it's here. I think it's in some ways, in some cases, it's kind of a neat feature on things. Some of it may not necessarily be useful in the early stages, but I think it's definitely not going away, and it's going to have tremendous benefits. Of course, come the risks as well, but it's here. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Would you have advice for other financial institutions that might be considering getting into AI that might be slow to adopt?
I think just learn as much as possible. I think get involved, understand more. I I think it's really interesting, in at least my perspective. This isn't Bitcoin and crypto in my mind, which I think was
Okay.
a big wave for a while of, what does this look like, and do we need to understand blockchain? I think this is much more, it's here, it's now. There's not a point of view that needs to be had. It's here. So you'll see it as an option in all of our products that we're using here pretty soon.
Excellent. So any closing thoughts you have you'd like to share?
No, I think this is an exciting time in the development of technology, and I think it's institutions that take advantage of artificial intelligence and machine learning and all of that, I think are going to be more efficient. They're going to better be able to serve their customers and potentially make more money. So I think it's a benefit to everyone to get on board the artificial intelligence train and learn more and see how it could best help their institution.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of In the DeNovo. For more content like the video we shared today, check out our website at DeNovoTreasury.com and our YouTube channel at DeNovo Treasury. Thanks, and see you next time.